everybody. I guess I don't have to introduce myself now. I want to start by, even though I am the curator of this show, this show would not be possible without the help of so many people. So I just want to give a huge shout out to for my successor, Sam. I hate saying replacement. Sam and I went to grad school together, so we've known each other a long time, and he helped so much with the installation of the show. It was really instrumental. But also our volunteers and interns from some of this table here with Sarina, who donated the puzzle in the exhibit, Joanne, we have Dana, Kim, LY, G, Isabel, Allison, Claire, Meg, literally all of our volunteers helped so much. So huge shout out to them. I probably dedicated maybe like 200 hours of my life to this show, and they probably donated equal amounts. But the exhibit, Echoes of the Red Era, Aesthetics of Chinese Propaganda, came to be because we got a massive donation in the beginning of January of this collection. Everything on display is part of that donation, or at least not including the hall gallery, to explain. He donated probably 700 objects. Whenever we got it, I just knew we had to do an exhibit with it. And it's, as collections manager, I've been always pushing to do more exhibits, just mining our own collection. So this is kind of my chance to do that. But today I will let you guys explore the Cultural Revolution yourself, but I'm going to talk more broadly about propaganda. So starting with the basics, what is propaganda? It is the deliberate spreading of information or rumors or ideals to influence people's thoughts and ideas and behaviors specifically. And this can be positive and negative. It can benefit people in power, certain organizations, all kinds of things. Examples of like negative ones is obviously when it's used in examples like the Cultural Revolution and used to kind of justify oppression, but there is also cases of like the healthcare organization sharing very important, valuable information. So there's different ways to interpret propaganda. So kind of going into, I put too far. How old propaganda is, it is really timeless. As old as there is art, there is propaganda. So some examples here is relief of Ramses II. That's from the 13th century BCE. And then this is a Chinese example. Thought we would do China, for example. And that's from 210 BCE. And so this piece on the right is essentially Ramses showing about a certain battle that historically it's very questionable if he won or not. But according to him and anybody who saw this art, he won the battle. And then here is a inscription for the second emperor of the Qing dynasty. And essentially this tablet just explains how it's their divine mandate to rule and essentially how it's their job and position, and it's good for the humanity to be in charge of everybody. So these are just examples of how propaganda, even dating back to way, way ancient times, has always been linked to power, legitimacy, and unity. Some other examples is religious and colonial art, especially with Christian art. Kind of going to Martin Luther in the 16th century, he used his testaments, and they were mass produced as prints and disseminated against the population. And also imagery that was taken from Spain into colonial Spain, into Mexico and the Southwest, and spread Christianity through art. And so that is a way that art is also spread, or propaganda is tied to religion. Okay. Then kind of jumping way ahead, kind of into the modernization of propaganda. World War I and World War II afterwards are really when propaganda became a coordinated state-run effort. For example, the UK Ministry of Information, which included the first formal government propaganda offices for the UK, so government officials whose whole job is to create and spread propaganda, started. including the 1914 poster to recruit soldiers for World War I. And the US did something very similar, which I'm sure all of you have seen a million times, a few years later in 1917. And so this kind of shows a shift towards public monuments and more towards mass production of objects to share ideals. And it also showed how it moved beyond just support, but was used to justify violence and war and helped shape national identities. And then kind of going more into identity, using some very famous examples, different political leaders, especially in times such as Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. Art was used to rally support and completely shape reality. And these examples are both for youth camps, and I chose that because they always started with youth. And you will see a section in the gallery today that is dedicated to the education of children, because once you start, you can essentially disseminate your ideas to children, and they're the most perceptible to it. And it is an easy way to get an entire generation to agree with you. And now we get to today, to the digital age. Propaganda is faster, it's harder to detect, and it's more present than ever. And it's also more personal. Social media apps are tailored to kind of create an algorithm for media that is designed for you, which means you are getting tailored propaganda designed for you. It all kind of comes in one hand. Also, across the world, political leaders on social media platforms and online are using it to promote nationalism, spread unity and division, suppress dissent, spread ideas, get votes, all kinds of things. So we are all part of the social media ecosystem now, whether we like it or not. So we're all consumers and at times amplifiers of propaganda. So it's just really, as we're looking at today's day and age, especially in contemporary America, let's, look at what we're sharing on the internet. Hey, and why does this matter? It's because propaganda doesn't just inform, it influences. It drives elections, it fuels conflict, it helps shape identity, and it can justify oppression as much as it can inspire hope. So it's really important to recognize what you're looking at, and you will always be fed propaganda, and the best way to just stay hyper aware is to ask questions like, why is this created? Who created it? Who gains from this? What are the emotional triggers that they're using? What is the us versus them language that is being used? Propaganda is only effective when we don't challenge it. Okay, and I just want to leave you all, as you walk around the galleries, to think about how propaganda has been prevalent throughout human history, but how it's here today. And, think about a form of propaganda you might have seen recently, and think about the positive and negative of it, because it is not all negative. But yeah, enjoy the show. Thank you.